What is up, guys? Delboy here. A quick preview of the Matchroom Monaco show that goes down this weekend. As you can see, nothing of any real quality is on this card. In fact, the card is quite poor. Nevertheless, I will share my thoughts on it. Before I do, I've got to say, I'm not a big fan of these Matchroom Monaco cards. This is the third one. They do one a year. And for my money, the quality just isn't there. And not only that, you know, these shows in Monaco just have really weird atmospheres. They are held in tiny casinos that hold maybe 200 people or so, and the atmosphere is just really dead and surreal. You know, I don't think it's a great atmosphere for boxing. I don't think it works, to be quite honest. That's just my opinion. Nevertheless, let's go into this card. Kawi Fi versus Israel Gonzalez. Really disappointing fight. That is what I'm most disappointed about on this card. I've been waiting for Kawi Fi to step up. I want to see him in big unification fights. But here we are, you know, a treading water fight, to be quite honest. Israel Gonzalez, I mean, he'll come to fight, don't get me wrong, but he's really limited. He actually fought for a world title earlier this year and got blitzed by Jerwin and Kahas. You know, the guy shouldn't be fighting at world level. You know, limited, defensively poor, doesn't really have much power. Kawi Fi should box this guy up and stop him, to be quite honest. Kawi Fi should not be struggling with this type of opponent. Hopefully he gets the job done, and after that he can move on to bigger fights. The super flyweight division has some really good talent, and you know, we just want to see unification fights. Kawi Fi versus Ankahas, you know, great fight, make it happen. You know, I'm just waiting for your fight to make that next step. I think he's a really good boxer. I think he has a lot of ability. Let's see him at the highest level. That's all I'm asking for. But we move on to Denis Lebadev versus Mike Wilson. Before I get into it, I've got to say, I've got a lot of respect for Denis Lebadev. He's been a stalwart in the cruiserweight division for about a decade now. I'll always remember the knockout against Enzo Macronelli, his brutal fight with Guillermo Jones. You know, Lebadev has given us some really good fights over the years. You know, I felt he beat Marco Huck all those years ago. You know, Lebadev always comes to fight. He's fought good competition. Just a credit to the division. But for my money, I think he's past his best now, and I would rather see him hang the gloves up. But he continues, and he is fighting a guy called Mike Wilson. How Mike Wilson has got this fight, I don't know. How he's fighting for that WBA title, I don't know. Mike Wilson is 19-0 with 8 knockouts, I believe, and he's literally fought nobody. His record is incredibly padded. How he's got this fight, I've no idea. And by the way, the title Lebadev holds, that WBA title, is bogus, you know, as we all know. But poor fight. I think Lebadev should be retired at this point. But nevertheless, he should beat this guy in decisive fashion. Lebadev, you know, he should destroy this guy, to be quite honest. Frank Leone versus Fanlong Meng. Now this fight is actually intriguing. We all know about Frank Leone. He's a British level fighter. Nothing wrong with that. That's just what he is. And Fanlong Meng, he was a good amateur, but as a pro, he's not really done much at all. So it is a big step up for Fanlong Meng, and that's what I'm more interested in, to be quite honest. I want to see how good this Meng character is. Let's see. Like I said, Leone is a step up. Leone will come to fight. That could be an interesting one. Fanlong Meng, like I said, good amateur. He's a southpaw. He's 6'2". He's quite tall and rangy. He'll try and box. He'll try and be tricky. You know, boxer versus a brawler, that's a decent fight. I've got no issue with that fight. I'll watch that one and I'm relatively intrigued about it, to be quite honest. Mainly for Fanlong Meng. Not sure how good this guy is. I don't think he's that great, but is he good enough to beat Frank Leone? Potentially. There's good odds on Fanlong Meng actually. I think he's like, is he 9-5 maybe? I don't remember off the top of my head, but decent odds on Fanlong Meng. And the thing I'm looking forward to most on this card is the return of Michael Hunter. Now, Michael Hunter used to be at cruiserweight. He fought Alexander Usyk for the WBO cruiserweight title. That night, he, you know, put up a really good fight, made a good account of himself, gave Usyk trouble in a few rounds, and he left that fight with credit. He then moved up to the heavyweight division, and he recently upset highly touted prospect Martin Bakole. That was a really good win. And now he fights Alexander Ustinov. I'm pleased to see Hunter stay active, and I think Ustinov is a good fight for him, to be quite honest. I've never rated Ustinov, but I think it's a good preparation fight for Michael Hunter going forward. Ustinov is a big guy. He can move. He can flick that jab. So it's something different for Michael Hunter to contend with in the heavyweight division. I think it's a good prep fight more than anything for future fights. And Ustinov at his best was a fringe contender. He's still somewhat of a name. So yeah, I think this fight is good for Michael Hunter. I expect Michael Hunter to win. He's a far better boxer than Ustinov. Quicker of hand and foot. He's fresher and just more talented all around, to be quite honest. I expect Hunter to win this fight. It's how he looks doing it. I've got to say, Michael Hunter, I'm not sure if he's signed with anybody, but if he wins this fight, which I think he should do, I think Michael Hunter would be a very shrewd signing for Eddie Hearn in the United States, because, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing Michael Hunter fight Jarrell Miller. I think that would be a good fight. It'll be an all-American fight. Michael Hunter can really box. He's got a decent amateur background. You know, Michael Hunter's a good fighter. I hope he, you know, gets him back in, because, you know, he would fight anybody. So I've got a lot of time for Michael Hunter, and I'm intrigued to see how he looks against Alexander Ustinov. Like I said, he should beat Ustinov, to be quite honest. And the last fight I'll talk about briefly is Daniil Ustinov versus Marcus Mujica. Mujica has a better looking record than pretty much everybody Ustinov has fought so far, but I don't expect him to be much cop. We'll see. Ustinov, you know, he was a really, really good amateur. He's not really convinced me as a pro to date, but he's only 4-0. You know, he's got a lot of time to go. We'll see how he develops, but I'll keep an eye on him. We'll see how his career unfolds. But yeah, the card, you know, really, really weak. Nothing there really grabs my attention. I am looking forward to Michael Hunter, as I said, and also Leone versus Fanlong Meng. But, you know, even these fights, you know, you wouldn't exactly miss a hot date for them, would you? Do you know what I mean? It's not the best card in the world, but if I'm not doing anything, I will watch this card. Share your thoughts on this card below. Tell me how you feel about each fight. Peace.